I want to thank Phil for bringing everyone here tonight. When people ask me what the difference between Nutritional Frontiers, that's usually the question I get. I never heard of you. What's the difference? Well, I said, number one is our people. So that includes myself. I'm the CEO and owner of Nutritional Frontiers. So if you think about your other brands in your office, I'm sure you all carry other brands. We carry other brands in our wellness center. And if you think about some of those brands, ask yourself, other than us, we know we're your favorite? Okay. So whoever your number two is, think about the last time you went to an event with them and had dinner, right? It's probably been a while. You may not even know who the owner of the company is anymore. All the companies that I've been around, most of them have sold at least once. So when in doubt, you know who the owner of Nutritional Frontiers. You have my business card or my number in your phone. Put it in there. I like to talk or text preferably. So if you have anything you want to give us, testimonials, feedback, requests, anything that you need, let me know directly. We are a faith-based, family-owned, mission-driven, Pittsburgh-based company. So it's me and my son, Zach. I'm 100% owner. So anytime you need anything, you can go right to me. In fact, we have someone here, Matt Kaufman in the room, was generous enough with his new building to partner up with us, and we put some shelving units in your office. How do they look, Matt? And so it really helped out his sales, because people can see the display. We've done help with advertising, sampling, whatever it may be. So we're here as a partnership. So the number one difference with Nutritional Frontiers is our people. Start with me and my family. And of course, we have the team right here. Phil that does everything behind the scenes, videos, audios, marketing, social media. That's Phil doing a great job. Of course, we have Phil Fay I just talked about. The great thing about Phil is that he's a really genuine, trusting man, right? He really does this for the right reasons. And we appreciate all support this year when he took some time off. But he's back and better than ever, so really excited to have Phil on the team. Hey. The godfather of nutrition, if you like some training for your office, I know they did a staff training out at Matt's place and has done training with you guys right in the past. How'd that work out for you?
Great.
So would you guys do staff training with Joe?
Would we?
Did you?
No, we actually, we did a seminar where he came.
Next level, okay.
Yeah, so, minutes talk about hormones to about 32 women.
How long before he left?
One man there, remember?
Joe, yeah. But now Joe is our director of training. He's really passionate. He doesn't have to work anymore, but he said he does this because he loves it. And when I ask him, Joe, when are you going to retire? What do you say?
From what?
So he's here tonight to support you. He can do Zoom training at your office. He can go in there and physically train. He's there to support Phil, and he can also do some events with you. He does our wellness events for patients. He even does consults this year, back in the front line after all this time, using things like a LegoScan and Zyto. So he's a plethora of information. The only thing better than that is that he loves to help, right? He's a really genuine guy. Again, you see a pattern on our community we're building. We want the right people, right? There's a lot of superstars out there, but they may not fit in on a team. We want the right people together in our community, and none better than Joe. And Joe does not need an alarm clock. Why is that, Joe?
Alarm clock?
Yeah.
Because every day is a great new day, and I get up smiling and grateful.
And he gets up because I call him about 7 a.m. every day.
7:50.
Yeah.
I'm already up. I don't need an alarm.
Everyone needs somebody they can rely on to talk to, right? And of course, someone I've known in the room for over 25 years, he's our main speaker tonight. The great thing about Dr. Len Brantzwitz is that if you look at his background, I haven't seen anyone else have this background, right? Duquesne School of Pharmacy, one of the top schools in the whole country, graduate from there. Naturopathic medical doctor, certified clinical nutritionist, homeopathy, the list goes on and on and on. But, once again, when Len thought he was retiring, he moved to Georgia to get away from me. I got him there. He went to Florida, and Christine got him there. So he can run, but he can't hide. So let's hear it for Dr. Len.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the most important people are you. So who's here for the first time tonight? Normally we make you sing and dance, but there's too many. So But thanks so much for coming. We appreciate it tonight. And we just want to get a better idea who else is, who's back for more. You've been here before? Oh, thank you. Tells me that you really trust us a lot, which is our number one value. So you either like the pain or the pleasure, but you're here to grow together. So I'd like to hear some of the disciplines we have in the room. So we have any medical doctors in the room? Ah, welcome aboard. Thank you so much. We have any pharmacists in the room? We have any naturopaths in the room? Here we go. Chiropractors, nutritionists, personal trainers, physical therapy, staff, social workers. Oh, there we go. Got it. RNs, nurse practitioners, PAs. Anyone else? Wow, what a group here, Joe. Let's hear it for them. Well, the reason I do that is because I want you to understand we are a community. And a lot of times after these events, what happens is you start meeting together. And just like that at the event in Pittsburgh, if you want to pull up the speakers that are there, I've been to a lot of events through the years. I worked at Metagenics. I was a Southeast Regional Manager for them for years. Joe's worked at large companies. Len worked under Dr. Laval. So we've been to a lot of events. A lot of events after people leave, it's now what? You get back to the office, and your first person's there, and your second person's there, and you get, oh, I'll implement that later. This is an event that's going to be life-changing for you personally and your staff and your patients. We want your staff to come to this event, right? The reason we spread it out is because we had requests from you that we need more training, not less. So we have the top speakers in the world: Dr. Bob Rakowski, Dr. Tracy Straub, Dr. Mary Bell Verdialis, Dr. Richard Silver, Dr. Len, myself, Christine, Joe, Paulina Petrusevich. We have this really cool business board on Saturday, and it's Paulina, and then we have Dr. Brenda Montrella and Dr. Lisa Kellerman and Tracy and Christine. It's such a really cool group. And the whole idea this weekend is that when you come back, you'll be able to really succeed on our mission of making the world healthy, plus our purpose. Our purpose is what? We want to do two things with you: get better results for your patients and better profits for your practice. You can't do one without the other. People are in it just for the money, never works. And if you're in it just for the patient, that's really challenging unless you have the financial support. So does that make sense for everyone? Better results and better profits. How do we do that? Is with our formulation. So we're going to show you tonight the difference between a product and a formula. Okay, we still have products like quercetin and vitamin D, but it's not enough. Why have the patient or client buy 7, 8, 9 products when you can do it in 2 or 3? Right? It's like, name that tune. I can do it in 3 formulas, right? You're not going to take 10, 12 products. It's too much. Plus, what they're going to try and do is circumvent you. And who is your number one competitor now? Amazon. Okay? Most of the brands you're carrying in your store, and I carry in my wellness center, are available directly on Amazon to your patients without including you in the profitability. You guys are aware of that, right? So if you carry those brands in your store, it tells me you're okay with that, all right? We do not sell direct through Amazon, and we don't sell direct through our own website. We have an affiliate program. So we're going to teach you how to fish that weekend. So on Friday, we implemented this new program here. And the reason I was texting before Phil introduced me was I was letting the team know Phil extended the early bird special. So thanks, Phil. If you want to join us in Pittsburgh, if you go all the way down, keep going. There we go. Friday morning, we're doing Practice Mechanics Implementation 1 and Practice Mechanics Implementation 2. There's this big movement in the industry to do less testing because we're over-testing and we're not really having those conversations with people. We're not doing face, tongue, and nail analysis, right? We're not doing the history like we need to, and the symptoms questionnaire, and all the things you can do in your office for free with an instant test, right? Having those deeper conversations. Everyone, I want to look at genetic. You can do the genetic testing. You may not have to for everybody, okay? And you may be able to get quite a bit of result without it. Then we're going to go into face, nail, and tongue with Tracy. We also look at things like InBody and the Oligo Scan and Zyto. There's a lot of things your staff can do, plus our professional training guide. Who has our training guide? Right? So that helps you or your staff bring a patient from A through Z. So it's all about implementation. Then we get to Dr. Maribel Verdialis, who's an OBGYN and a naturopath. How many of those do we have in our country? Only a few. Franny Perez was one of our first clients. So she's going to teach, all right, now we got hormone issues. We've done all these other things. Now what do we do? Okay? Then Friday night, we're going to sing and dance and listen to some music. And the great thing is all the speakers are there. You can talk to them all weekend. They're the most down-to-earth, generous people you'll meet. And that's the fun part. Plus, you would learn when you're having a good time, and that's what we do. Saturday, we're going to do yoga in the morning, and then we'll get into our heavy hitters, our speakers. Saturday afternoon, we're going to go on the Mikey's Magical Mystery Tour to our World of Wellness, so you can see what we do actually live and where our formulas were developed. Because what we do to develop nutritional frontiers, I worked at Metagenics a long time ago, it was too many products in the protocol. Just like most of the companies, Douglas, et cetera. So we started doing, me and Doc is saying, let's look at how do we bring these formulations together so we get better compliance and better results. I'll give you an example. Our Candida protocol back then was 4 products. ADP by Biotics, caprylic acid by Douglas, Candibactin AR and BR by Meta. So I said, what if we brought those together in one? And that's CandiKill. Has anyone used CandiKill? Maybe we play that video from the last event, Phil. This is one of our clients out of Michigan. They're a nutritionist, and they use a lot of CandiKill for weight loss. And on the right up here, me and Dr. Len were talking about that. So here's Taylor.
Ms. Taylor, I am a nutritionist at 7.7 Nutrition. One of my favorite nutritional frontier supplements is the CandiKill. I like this supplement because it's a very versatile supplement. It helps with candida detoxing, leaky gut syndrome. It especially helps with my clients that come in that have really severe sugar cravings. I think overall it's a very easy product to administer. We have them take it from 30 to 90 days, and we do see a tremendous difference in their gut health.
Thanks, Phil. So CandiKill is an example of a formulation instead of products. 4 products that your patients can buy direct, or 1 formula that they can only get through you. Now, e-commerce, I finally realized, is not going away, right? So who does e-commerce of some sort in your business now? Nobody? Oh, 1. Okay. No one else has a website or sells online, or no? Getting ready to. Okay. Don't wait too long. So we have a few options for you. You can simply go to our website, set up a wholesale account, and buy right through the website. Okay? So Phil can show you right there how to do that. Why would you want to do that? Well, there may be some things you want to look at after hours and there's no one available, right? There's certain hours a day I like to go on there. Secondly, you may want to keep up with some of the events going on. We also have online promos that we don't offer through the home office. And one right now is called Buy More, Save More. So you buy 500, you save $50, you buy 1,000, et cetera. So there's a lot of education on the website. So you can set up a wholesale account. Phil, I'm sure it'll be on your list to go over. And then you can also set up an affiliate program. Has anyone used the affiliate program? Oh, thank God. Anyone want to share your success? Oh.
So my clients tend to like to come to the store to get their refill.
Good. So you set up the affiliate.
I have it set up. It's on my website. There's a link with my code number and everything all right there.
Good.
And if anybody did want to, they have the
So-
option to do that through.
Yeah, and you can also order through there for them. One of the reasons why would be maybe you don't carry the entire line, right? Maybe you're out of stock and we're not. Maybe it's one of your.
Good idea.
Oh, thank you. That's why we do this, right? Maybe one of your clients' relatives wants to buy and they live in Texas, right? Maybe they want to buy something that you not even going to stock, right? So there's a lot of things that they can do too. Plus all the sales that are on the website, the patient gets and the client gets, okay? And just by doing that, you get 35% of the gross of all the sales, okay? Because you get that in cash. We're going to go ahead, come on over. You got to get away from the wall. So our number one client on the affiliate program who makes money when we golf, right, which his wife loves, is Dr. Len. So this is part of your retirement program.
Exactly. I was just talking to somebody earlier on this evening. Is this on? About the affiliate program, and I was saying how easy it was because I don't have a brick and mortar store anymore. We closed that up 2 years ago, and I do everything virtually. So I came up with a direction sheet for my patients when I'm working with them that I email to them with all the different products that I'm recommending in a sequence on how they use this. Imprinted on the bottom is www.nutritionalfrontiers.com and step-by-step to order online for themselves using my access code. I've been averaging myself as income close to $700 a week. That means I'm generating just shy of $2,000 every week in sales, not even having a brick and mortar store. So it's possible, it doesn't take a lot of work, and it's nice to have them in your office, but for that case where you just cannot get the product or you don't have the product, somebody can be sent over to the affiliate program. And the only thing you have to do, because I have it sent to my cell phone through a PayPal account, and my wife found it. And now she's, I think, one of the top buyers on one of these women clothing groups because every time I look, there's nothing left in it. But she continually uses it. But it's an outstanding program. It's easy and it's efficient.
Yeah, and look, people years ago would go on Amazon because it was cheaper. If you've been around as long as me, it started out, I believe, on cheap books is what it was, Amazon, right? Why do people go on Amazon now? Convenience. So when these big companies go on there and sell direct and they say, oh, it's okay, our price is 5 or 10% higher. Nobody cares. We've done all the patient surveys. They say they go online because they don't want to pay the fees to see the natural practitioner. So this is what you're up against. So you have to get involved with e-commerce one way or another. A simple way, like Dr. Len said, is give all your patients a postcard, and they'll go on there and shop because there's so much education that's for free on there. So Phil, maybe you can show the quarterly focus. You guys know we have a focus each quarter. So the idea is we do that with all the marketing, the videos, the specials, the promos, all the different things, the samples, so that it can trickle down to you so you don't have to recreate it. So we have had different focuses each quarter. Of course, the first one is detox, GI, and weight. It's a nice way to go into after the holidays. And right now it's family and fitness and healthy aging. So on here you'll have the quarterly focus videos, and this goes right through the whole presentation for the quarter. So we're really fortunate to have Joe Messino on board to organize these, to create these and develop them so that you can not only have your patients go on, you and your staff can go on there, plus Joe can customize the training for you in your office. You want to share with one of the recent ones you've done, Joe?
Oh, God, yeah. Well,
Just one, recent.
just one and recent.
That's within this year, not...
Well, I'll tell you the most recent one was, of course, do I need it? At Matt Kaufman's establishment. We had about 12 of his staff members there. It was a hot day, but we pushed through, and we covered the quarterly focus in about an hour, a little bit, an hour and 15 minutes, but we tailored it to the products and the conditions that they were seeing most. So it was interactive. Everybody that was there, Matt will agree to this, I'm sure, they had questions, they had issues, and we were able to then customize it for what they were seeing on a regular basis.
Thanks, Joe. Appreciate it. So something Joe has taught me is, when you want to have success, follow somebody else, right? Doesn't that make sense? There's plenty of people who would help you. So one of the things we created to make it really simple for you is to show you what all your colleagues are buying. So in our catalog, our new catalog, one of the cool things is we list the top 12. They do change periodically, but if Phil's going to pull it up, this is all on the website, folks. So I want to navigate through this so you can see, I don't know if you guys know the backstory, but we started the company 16 years ago, me and Dr. Weiner. Do you guys know Doc? Some people? Yeah. Unfortunately, Doc passed. God, it's going to be 7 years. So, we were in a crossroads what to do. You know, the face of the company is gone. What do we do now? And we decided to put everything all in. And part of that was creating a website that was interactive that you and your staff and patients can go on, that they can do an affiliate program. Your patients can buy from the company direct, get it shipped to their house, and you're including the profitability. Okay, so that was a really key component. So the website is interactive. I do recommend, we're going to go through a little bit of how to use it some more. This is in your bag. So if you pull out your catalog, this is page 9. And these are our top sellers, must-have formulations from all your colleagues. So what's the number 1 seller on there? All right, so I got to ask, do you like Apple Jacks or do you like chocolate? Oh, I didn't even get. All the women say chocolate. Who's surprised? Nobody. But we have both. Go ahead.
I really like the greens, but every once in a while I want something different, so that's when I'll do the chocolate.
Oh, so she does both. I do the same. I've been using the chocolate greens with Super Shake peanut butter, and you get a Reese's peanut butter cup smoothie. That are all the right things without any of the bad. So greens, either one. Does it matter, Joe?
Doesn't matter, just use one.
So we're going to talk about the top 12. GI Complete, Dr. Len's going to go into tonight. Len, you got to comment on this. Len's nickname in college was the gut guy.
Yeah, and tonight we have a gastroenterologist joining us here in the audience. And my background basically is in oncology. That's where when I graduated from Duquesne University, I went into oncology, and I did that for 6 years. And then I went into retail sales, and it wasn't until I got ill that I started doing extra training. And I went back to school for 19 years to try to get some more training. And coming out of those 19 years, talking to my professors, they nicknamed me the gut guy. And they said, every time we had a case study, every time you had a patient, every time we worked in the hospital, every time we did a specific remedy, you were going to the gut first. And I said, 80 to 85% of the time, that's where the issue is beginning. And that's really what spawned the talk tonight. So I'm just going to give you that as a little tease. One of the things we're going to talk about tonight is how big of a problem this really is. We need more gastroenterologists, quite honestly.
Thanks, Len. Number 3 right now is actually Candikill. It's Leapfrog the SPM. So I just looked at the new one, but it was SPM. Is everyone familiar with SPM? Maybe you can play that, Dr. Bob. So Dr. Jeff Bland, one of my mentors, and there's a couple other doctors, Sinclair, they were involved in Harvard a few years back about looking at, they injected rats with a lethal dose of a toxin, and they said, wow, some actually survived. Why? And what they found is they have these pro-resolving mediators. So these are deeper concentrations of some of the omega pathways, right? So the omega-3 pathway, you get the fatty acid, then you get the EPA and DHA. These 14, 17, and 18 fatty acids are a much deeper concentration. I look at it, if you were cleaning the room up, you can clean it all up, but the SPMs will get the nooks and crannies. So when someone's had chronic inflammation or even acute issue, sometimes you need something stronger than the omegas or some of the herbs. And that's what the SPMs are. If you look at the research on them, over 1,000 studies on PubMed. So just a quick summary, pain down 29%, and this is only in 4 weeks. Prostaglandin PG2 down 43%. Fibrinogen rates normalize after about 8 weeks. And the high sensitivity C-reactive protein, I'll let Len handle this one. These normalize in about 4 weeks. So can you talk about how important that is as a risk factor? So SPMs, you can use acutely. I like 3 twice a day. I take a teaspoon each morning just to keep as a baseline. But if my neck is aching from working out or actually sleeping on a plane, if I have any thing that's wrong with my lower back or hips, I'll do 3 twice a day. And by that, usually the second dose, I can feel it already. I was shocked the one day how quick it worked. And in fact, Len one time came down to speak with me in Georgia. He came walking in and bent over. I thought he got in a car accident. He got hurt and drove all the way to Atlanta. And of course, I'm worried he can't speak that night. So it's like an athlete, you got to tape them up. I started giving them SPMs, and how'd you feel on those?
2 broken ribs, number 3 and number 12, and in excruciating
Get out
pain,
there.
having driven 8.5 hours to do a seminar, and then I had to drive 8.5 hours back. And I started the SPMs 2 every 4 hours around the clock, and within the first 6 doses, the pain was pretty much down. And I have stuck with those. Now, I just had a misguided acupuncture event last week, which started some spasms in my back. And the bottom line of it was I was basically bedridden for about an 8-hour period of time. I took 6 SPMs every hour for 3 doses. And within those 3 hours, the pain was completely resolved. Now, the other thing Jamie wanted me to mention was the cardiovascular risk factors, looking at things like homocysteine, looking at things like fibrinogen, things that doctors and cardiologists have measured for years. And for the last 15 years, the pharmaceutical industry is trying to find a drug to lower those risk factors of having a heart attack or a stroke. They've tried the statins, they've tried synthetic fish oil, they've tried them all. Nothing can move these. That have failed almost every study that they've done. SPMs are highly, highly efficient for cardiovascular support and lowering inflammation and lowering the risk factors of so many different types of cardiovascular accidents. And they stop pain. And I'll tell you what, I'll
Len, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Can you come up? She has a testimonial she wants
Sure.
to tell.
My father-in-law has pulmonary fibrosis, and it's been continuously getting worse for the last few years. I want to say 6 to 9 months ago, we started him on the SPMs, and it has completely halted, and they are just completely shocked because how quickly it was growing before. But the SPMs has really, really helped with that.
All right, so how many is he taking? Liquid or soft gels?
It's soft gels, and he's only doing what the bottle says.
Wow, very low dose. I usually like a higher one, but it's doing great.
think about that pulmonary fibrosis, that there is virtually nothing other than steroids that medicine can use. It's a just wait and it's going to continually get worse. That's the way pulmonary fibrosis ends up taking your life eventually. So to hear a story like that and a testimony to say that we're starting to resolve some of that fibrosis in the lungs, it's astounding.
So here's Dr. Bob Rakowski. He was a top speaker at Metagenics with Dr. Jeff Bland. They'd work weekends together, and I was on the team at the time working with him. And now he's a brand ambassador for Nutritional Frontiers. He is one of the headline speakers at our event. He will be there the whole weekend. Not only is he so supportive and genuinely very knowledgeable and very helpful, he's trained many doctors, talking tens of thousands through the years. Big speaker at the Swiss conference, and just a down-to-earth great guy. He's also a big promoter of the Organo, which is the Ganoderma-infused mushroom coffee. So he's a really great guy. And just a quick clip from the boat. You see he's hanging out with everyone on the boat. So let's see it, Phil.
All right, happy, beautiful evening. Dr. Bob Rakowski, functional medicine specialist, Houston, Texas. For about 5 years now, I've been working with Nutritional Frontiers. Absolutely love them. Detox formula is absolutely the best. I love their Calm Days. By the way, I also love their Omega SPMs. If you're not familiar with those, might be the best advance in nutrition, who knows, of this entire century. What I love most about them, customer service, always putting their doctors first, helping us win through great products, great education, service second to none.
Thanks, Phil. So when he says service second to none, that's the part, you know, here are the SPMs and the detox formulas, but we take a lot of pride in our service. We actually have people in the office that answer the phone and want to be there and are looking to help you. So we have Kim, who's been there quite a bit. We have Kara, we have Melinda, we have Shelby, Patty, and now a brand new person, Ashley. So we are growing in Nutritional Frontiers. Our vision is to double every 3 years and help a million new patients. So we just need people that are on the same mission that want to double with us. So if that sounds like something you want to do, we would love to do it together. Our values are trust, innovation, and we've had many innovations. We're the first company in the world to come out with a liquid SPM after about 3 years of trials and tribulations. We're the first company to come out with a IgG, which in the GI world is called Interagram, which is a prescription at 5 grams. It works really well over 45 published studies. The first one to come out with an IgG flavored powder. Anyone use the IgG? Okay, great. So we use that. You can actually use it right with the GI Complete. IgG is really interesting because Len's going to show you some, I love the visuals he has. So he's going to show you where the intestinal tract is congested, and oftentimes toxins and bacteria get in that villi, if there's any left, and they're very challenging to get out. So especially for your more severe cases, maybe you get 50, 60, 70% results. Sometimes adding that IgG in. The great thing, the studies are 6 weeks or less, right? So if the person's concerned, they got to buy 2 or 3 bottles, and it costs a couple $100. That's it. They don't need it forever if they follow the program, right? So that's one of the things too we're going to teach at the training with Paulina is some of the communication with patients. You have short-term formulas that you may be on for days or weeks. Then you have midterm, which may be months, and then some things you're on forever. But you know, utilizing some of those ingredients like the IgG, it was really nice because the studies show that it will actually bind to these stubborn bacteria, it'll neutralize it, and then it'll remove it from the body. There's studies on that with C. diff, right? Mycotoxins, Candida, of course. You know, some of the more H. pylori, some of the more stubborn bacteria. And it was interesting. I just got back from vacation last night, ready to go today. And I was away with some friends and my daughter and now my friends got kids, you know, my daughter's age. And it was interesting. All the 20-somethings, late teens and 20-somethings, all had some kind of GI things going on, right? If it was, a lot of them have diarrhea, or if they eat something, they got to go to the bathroom. A lot of them have stomach pain. You talk about anxiety. And one of the things Len's going to go over here shortly is the connection with the gut and the brain, right? What's the real brain? It's probably the gut. And showing that connection. So we need some of these more innovative ingredients. That's why at Nutritional Frontiers, we're always looking at updating or improving. Since COVID started, a lot of companies didn't bring out any new products, did they? And they maybe discontinued quite a few. We bring out over 70 new or updated formulas since 2020, and we're going to continue to do so. One of the newest ones is our collagen creamer. It's actually the World of Wellness label. So it's one of the first collagen creamers infused with peptides, right? So it's a healthy coffee creamer, because if you saw it was in creamers, you would not want to take it or give it to anyone you know. A lot of hydrogenated fats and toxins. So we have a lot of innovations at Nutritional Frontiers, not only the website, but the formulations, the ingredients, the team, and it's all designed to give you better service, which Dr. Bob had mentioned. And the great thing about our business solutions, we're going to go to here in a second, is that you get all the service that you need. Look, I don't mind spending money, but my question is always, is it worth it, right? That's why I'm a big, loyal client of like Marriott. Could be the Courtyard, doesn't have to be the fancy one, but I know what I'm going to get when I go there. I rent from Enterprise, not because it's the cheapest, but I know I'm going to go there, I'm going to get checked out real quick. If there's a problem, they'll be on top of it. So we have a VIP loyalty program, right, that we want you to be part of. So who here is a VIP? I know Barb's here, Matt's here, great. So we have a few people that are VIPs already. The nice thing with the VIP program is that this is a VIP in training tonight, right? The idea is that you can train to be a VIP. But the VIP gives you loyalty points, right? We give you back because you're giving to us loyalty. And you can get into it a little more at Phil one-on-one, but really simple criteria. The big thing is you participate in our education, because that's number one on our business solutions. So you can do education with Phil by appointment once a month. Who does that? Anyone? A couple people? All right, a few hands up. So meet with Phil one-on-one. You can go through our website and get the videos for each quarter and each month. You can do Zoom trainings with Joe or Dr. Len or myself, right? You can also go on our webinar series. We have webinars each month now. You can also go on Dr. Len's training on Friday mornings at 9 twice a month. So there's a lot of ways to participate. Then the VIP dinners and then the professional training events. So that's part of it. The other thing, if you scroll down a little more, marketing, technology. Who does our sampling program? All right, what's your favorite sample? Oh, Air Max. Okay, cool. Which flavor? Both. They like both, right? It's, you know, you got tart and sweet, right? You got both options. You got the citrus and you got the strawberry. How about yourself, Nancy?
Well, you saw it, chocolate greens.
Oh, let's hear it now. Hold on, we may need the mic over here.
No, the chocolate greens and no sugar almond milk.
Yeah, so,
I mean, that's a great way to, Phil started me on it. I'm going to blame Phil. I've known him a way long time, since he was 2. No, I'm just kidding. But really, he told me his kids liked it as a hot chocolate. And my 3-year-old granddaughter asked me for chocolate milk, and I gave her to her in a little shaker, and she shakes it up herself.
it's fantastic. And when I was in their office, or their store, they had some cups sitting right on the counter, and it was like a setup. I thought it was pretty cool, thank you, but it wasn't. A gentleman came up, was checking out. He did it. He goes, "Oh, he goes, this is great," and he bought it right on the spot. So I know it's been very successful. So you can sample at your office. You can also do the samples. So everyone get their care bag tonight, their black bag. In there are samples of the formulas. So my favorite, Sleep Time. You have Probezyme out here that you can use to sample for people, maybe for their family member. Some people even sell them, right? The other thing, I like to give it to them if they're getting the bigger bottle and they can refill that little one, right? And then use that as their travel size. So the other thing a lot of people like is our marketing program. So you can use all of our marketing. These are all available for you as being a client of ours. You don't have to be a VIP client, okay? So we're going to turn over to the PowerPoint. Yep. So always remember, you have my contact information. I'm here to help you. I have 33 years experience. Started in sports nutrition in the 90s, and I've worked with healthcare professionals since about 2000. My vision is not the end result, the exit strategy to sell and sell off. Why? Because it's the end. Watch what you wish for, right? So I think the journey is more important and more fun, and helping people and building this community. I really feel strongly about our mission to make the world healthy, and we do that with ourselves first, our community, which is here tonight, our family, our staff, our patients, and we spread the word. Making the world healthy one person at a time. Sometimes it could be scary out there because we're dealing with some monsters, right? Between what they call the food industry, the pharmaceutical, you know, you can start to look at the money behind them. It could be overwhelming. But I do see some light at the end of the tunnel for functional medicine, right? We've been doing this quite a while, but I think it's all going to happen through education and community, and doing it mostly through events like tonight. So I appreciate you coming out. We're going to have Dr. Len take over a little more. I'm here to support him, of course. But, you know, the 3 things, always remember, it's different with us versus other companies out there, regardless if it's nutrition or anything else, is one is our people. I'm here because I want to be. Our team's here, and you guys are all here because you want to be, right? We have plenty of support for you. Number 2 is our formulations. We've developed these in our wellness center. There's plenty of great companies I've mentioned that have friends still at these companies. The challenge is that there's a lot of formulations that we have that are more comprehensive than what they're offering. So between that and then the business model of selling direct to your patients and being acquired by big companies. There's a cool slide. Have you seen this? Where it shows if you trail the companies to who really owns them. Matt, we were talking about this earlier. Clorox is a big one, right? They own a few large supplement companies. Nestle, of course, owns Douglas, Gardner Life, Pure Encapsulation, Wobenzyme, and a few others, right? Metagenics was just acquired again. Designs for Health was just acquired. Joe's friends at Allergy Research were all just fired recently because they're acquired again. It's what's going on in our industry right now. So When we were talking about our story 15 years ago, no one would listen. But now they're making it really easy. We're staying over here doing our thing, and that's okay, and let them do theirs. My vision is not to be the largest vitamin company. It's to be the best natural company to support healthcare professionals like yourself. So we're going to have Dr. Len. He's the expert here. Take it over a little more. We talked about trust, innovation, integrity, doing what we say, and the service. Here's our big three differentiators: people, formulations, and our business model. So when in doubt, remember that. You have my information if you need me at any time. And you're in great hands with this guy, Phil. He's a family man. This guy has industry experience. He's a hard worker. And we know this year he's a fighter. So let's hear it for Phil again. So it all starts with our health pyramid. These are our foundations. This is what I was doing in personal training 30 years ago. Eat right, drink right, sleep right, move right, poop right, think right. Right? People forget about those. We're in a world of toxicity. I was never a big TV guy anyway. I only watch like Seinfeld or a sports game. I don't watch TV. It's not an activity. I don't surf on the phone anymore either. I look something up and that's it. So emotional wellness is a big thing. But you got to build a pyramid here with prebiotic, probiotic, and enzymes, micro and macro, essential fats, phytonutrients. And then if you say, hey, I have diabetes, you'll get a much better opportunity. You can't out-supplement or even out-medicate a bad lifestyle. We were talking earlier, the old days of eating fairly well and working out are over. It's not enough anymore. Everything's toxic, the food, the thoughts, the TV, the media. It's a lot of toxicity. The best thing you do is spend more time outside. So we created this health pyramid with the Ultimate Shake and the Proline Greens. You know, if you do a scoop of each of these once a day, you got the whole pyramid. Do you know that? You get the whole pyramid. You have your vitamins, your minerals, your prebiotics, probiotic, and everything. All you do is shake a day. And Len's got a couple, I mean, these blow you away, these case studies, Len, on just doing the shake with the PSA. And
Yeah, had one fella that came in 45 years old, had an earlier diagnosis of prostate cancer. They thought, never tested it out with a biopsy. His PSA jumped up to 12. And he was ready to go see the urologist. They were going to suggest a lot of different things. And he came to me and said, is there anything we can do? And I really never even met the fella. He's a husband of somebody that we know. And I said, why don't we just do this? Ultimate Shake and Greens. Do that once a day. I'll schedule you another PSA in 6 weeks. In 6 weeks, his PSA went down to less than 4. In 6 weeks, just by using nutritional factors like this. And he did it once a day. And he stuck with it for a long period of time. But then, just like a lot of us do, he sort of withered away from it for a while, and his PSA went back up. And I said, now we're going to have to get a little more aggressive. But it worked dramatically.
yeah, in the last few years, some of the updates on the greens is that we've added Imodium, the most bioavailable glutathione that's available. That's in greens. I don't see that in other greens. We actually added VitaCholine, which is specialized choline that's in the greens. DMG, you guys familiar with DMG? What's it stand for? Oh, wow, got a good group here. And if you can't remember that, Joe, what's the other nickname?
We're all adults. Damn mighty good.
Huh. All right. I got kids, yeah. Darn mighty good, yeah. DMG is a methylated. I heard vitamin B15, pangamic acid. We've had the privilege of working with Dr. Roger Kendall, PhD. We've met him quite a few times. Last time I saw Doc, I says, what are you working on? He goes, oh, some cancer studies on DMG. I says, oh, can you share them? He walked out with a stack like this. You know, that's how much research Dr. Kendall's been doing on DMG. But 3 U.S. patents. Anyone know what the U.S. patents are for? Melanoma in animals, number 1. Number 2, osteoarthritis when you combine it with the green lip muscle. And number 3 is autoimmune conditions, rheumatoid arthritis. Do you see why we put it in the GI Complete? Right? So there's a patent by itself for RA, but when you combine it with all the other nutrients, you get that synergy in the formula. but we've updated this with DNG. Also, the vitamin C in here. Len says you can't have a detox greens drink with vitamin C from corn. And 98, 99% of vitamin C in our field is from corn. So this is not from corn, it's from acerola, from cherries. So it's the cleanest greens, plus there's prebiotic, probiotic, and enzymes, and all these support nutrients. And we walked into an office with Rhonda in Atlanta, and the woman at the front, Rhonda goes, "Oh, you look different." She goes, "I'm down 17 pounds." And she didn't look like she, had a weight issue, but she's probably a little puffy. And she said, "The only thing I've done," because I said, "Well, what did you do?" Right? Everyone's on Ozempic these days. I said, "What are you doing?" She goes, "The only thing I did is at greens, I do it once a day." That's how toxic people are, right? For us, we may not see as dramatic results because we're eating fairly good and things, but people are so toxic that they're going to see tremendous results like Len's patients did on this. So it's a macronutrient and micronutrient. All the vitamins and minerals in here are chelated. You guys know what that means? Len, you want to comment on the importance of chelated minerals?
When you look at the salt that's attached to it, I had that question come up at a doctor's office this past week with pharmacists, actually. It said, what's the difference between a chelated mineral and just a standard off the shelf? And I said, one's synthetic and one is more natural, so that it gets into the enzymatic reactions in the body in the correct way. The item that it's added to, that's chelated to it, helps to get maximum absorption.
Yeah, and these minerals are unstable. You can stabilize them with a carbonate or an oxide. You can use a citrate. Then you can use an amino acid. Most magnesium glycinates out there, you got one mag and one glycine, and they mix it. What's the problem with that? Think about magnesium as a beach ball or a ball, right? And you got to hold the ball and stabilize it. If you only use one hand, one glycine, you can hold the ball like this. What happens like this? You drop it. It's not stable. So we use the bisglycinate, bis like bicycle, two glycines, one magnesium. Now it's stable and bioavailable in every cell in the body. The mag-threonate story and the glycinate story, they're all stories. You need the right forms of the glycinate. So do you have that Rick Harnish we can pop up? This is our guy, Rick Harnish, over 30 years experience with minerals. He works at Balchem Albion, one of our partners. We only use his minerals, which my former company used to use. After they sold, they don't use them anymore. Did they tell you? No, they just don't use them. Why? Because that was his account, right? So let's hear it from Rick. This is just a brief explanation.
I was fascinated when I first learned about this. And people can feel the difference. Why?
So what happens with magnesium, you're looking at the common mineral salts like a carbonate, an oxide, even a citrate. Taking those in high values, RDI on magnesium now is 420 milligrams. Some people will take 8 to 1,200 milligrams a day. But if they're taking it in the salt form like that, whether it's a carbonate, an oxide, a citrate, they can get intestinal irritability or upset stomach. So that's because they're common mineral salts. When you move up the ladder to what we make is a magnesium bisglycinate chelate, and what that means, there's 2 moles of glycine bound to the magnesium. It's like if you took a beach ball, put one hand on each side, this is the amino acids, the beach ball is a mineral. Stabilizing that mineral, it doesn't upset the stomach, it passes through the stomach into the intestinal tract, it gets absorbed intact as a whole molecule. It passes the blood-brain barrier, which is very important with magnesium. That's why people take magnesium for sleep.
And that's the one Nutritional Frontiers uses. Our Frontier Minerals, our Mag Complete, our multivitamins, we use your form of bisglycinate.
Yeah, it's the best.
See, we bring our partners like this in so you can get a little behind the scenes that we are investing a tremendous amount of time and energy to give you the best. It's like food, right? What the cow eats determines the health of the cow, right? Or the fish. Same thing with the minerals. The form of those determine the results you get in your body. And it may seem like it's not a big deal, but it is. Okay, so bisglycinates, iron bisglycinate, mag bisglycinate, those are the ones we use. So we talked a lot about the greens, but this is superfood. If you're not doing this once a day, you're missing the boat, folks. If you don't want to do greens, we have 5 different colors. Anyone else use any of our other colors? Apple cinnamon, yep.
The Pro Purple.
Pro Purples, Joe's favorite. Right now, our quarterly focus, what's our shake of the focus?
The Purple Haze.
Oh, there you got to give her.
I tried it yesterday for the first time and I fell in love with it.
Purple Haze. So what do you use? The purples with what?
The Ultimate Shake.
Oh, nice. Vanilla Ultimate Shake. So we have purples, greens, reds, oranges, and the apple cinnamon, right? I do the oranges right now with the super creatine and the vanilla shake. You should think of the shake and the colors as food for yourself and your patients. Susie, this goes on your grocery budget, not your vitamins. This is food. Normally, you got to pay more for healthy food, right? Not the case here. You get a meal with both of them in there for about $4. I travel quite a bit. I hate to say it, I spent $8.96 on a coffee yesterday. Yes. I said, I was here yesterday, it was cheaper. It went up in one. I said, the good thing I'm leaving before the weekend, right? The prices go up on everything. This is food, folks. And if you start your day with the right meal, Len's going to talk about hormonal changes right here, leading right to this whole gut-brain connection. So the food you eat in the morning is going to tell your body what to do throughout the day. Food is information. So we call it the Shake a Day Club. Start yourself and your people with a shake. If they do it for a month every day, it's going to be a dramatic change. So Len, we talked a little bit about toxicity, genetics, nutritional deficiencies, and stress. These are the big four underlying causes of all health concerns. So here's some of the studies, Len, on
This is what we're going to do tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, I have to ask you a question as we start. As we're into this, what is the number one category of health concerns in the country so far this year in 2024? Number one category of illness. Pardon me? That's in there. I'm talking about really a serious health concern. Diabetes is number 3. Cancer is number 4. Neurodegenerative diseases is topping the list so far in 2024. Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, dementia, and that whole sequence. Number one category. Now, we're going to put into that category anxiety. What we're going to talk about tonight with leaky gut syndrome, or what medicine is called gut-associated lymphoid tissue. Remember the term GALT, G-A-L-T. That's what medicine has called this in medical textbooks for the last 20 years. But you talk to the average doctor to say, well, have you heard of leaky gut syndrome? No idea. They have no concept what's going on. So when we're talking about leaky gut, been known for about 12, 13 years now. Leaky brain syndrome is a relatively new conundrum that says the tissue that causes the blood-brain barrier seems to be very similar to the gut-associated lymphoid tissue. And there seems to be this similarity that says if I have leaky gut, there's about an 80% chance that I also have leaky brain, which is, again, leading to a lot of neurodegenerative diseases. Now, I shared this with Phil. Jamie hasn't heard it yet. I had to write a story, a little bit of a light story, to describe this whole thing. Jamie's going to leave the room now. Once upon a time,
I'll come back to the end.
In a quiet little town inside of Larry, the family guy who enjoyed pizza a bit too much, there was a bustling community known as Gutropolis. Gutropolis was a place where bacteria, enzymes, and all sorts of other microscopic residents lived in harmony. Well, most of the time. Larry's gut was famous for its efficient digestion, but lately things had become a little more chaotic. You see, Larry had developed a condition known as leaky gut syndrome, though no one in Gutropolis knew it by that name. They just knew that something was very, very wrong. One day, as Larry enjoyed his third slice of pepperoni pizza, a loud crash echoed through Gutropolis. The gut wall, once a mighty barrier, had developed a serious leak. The enzymes, who were always up for a challenge, rushed to patch it up. But every time they plugged up one hole, another appeared. "Hey, Phil," shouted Bifido, the friendly neighborhood probiotic, "you got any more of that gut glue?" Phil, the enzyme in charge of the repairs, shook his head. "We're all out. And to make matters worse, I think Larry's been eating all that gluten stuff again. It's like trying to fix a dam with wet noodles." As the leaks got worse, strange things started to happen in Gatropolis. Undigested food particles, normally kept safely inside, began escaping into the bloodstream. The residents of Gatropolis were in a panic. "We've got intruders," shouted a white blood cell. "Attack." The immune cells went into overdrive, launching an all-out assault on these foreign invaders. The problem is, they started mistaking friendly gut residents for enemies. Meanwhile, up in Larry's brain, another meeting was taking place. "Larry," shouted the brain, who was in charge of keeping Larry's thoughts in order, "what's going on down there? Why do I feel tired all the time? What's with these random mood swings?" "I don't know," replied Larry, scratching his head. "Maybe it's the pizza." "Well, pizza doesn't usually make me feel like I've been run over by a truck," the brain retorted. "You need to get this checked out." So back in Gatropolis, the situation was dire. The gut wall was now more of a hole in the wall, and the immune system has declared martial law. Bifido and his probiotic pals were holed up in a corner, trying to stay out of sight. "This is madness," said Bifido. "We've got to do something before Larry gets us all killed." Just then, a booming voice echoed through Gatropolis. It was Larry's stomach, who had been quiet far too long. "Listen up," the stomach rumbled. "I've had enough of this nonsense. We're going on a detox." "A detox?" everybody gasped. Sure enough, Larry decided to take action. He cut out the gluten, loaded up on probiotics, and even drank some of that GI Complete stuff that his friend had recommended. Slowly but surely, the gut wall began to heal. The immune cells calmed down, and peace was restored to Gatropolis. Bifido and his friends were once again free to roam the gut, doing what they did best, keeping Larry healthy. Larry, for his part, felt like a new man. He had more energy, a better mood, and even managed to resist that third slice of pizza most of the time. And so with Gatropolis back in order, Larry lived happily ever after, at least until the next time he discovered a new snack. End of story.
Ah, the good one, Len. Yeah, there we go. And this is a little visual you wanted to show them a difference.
This is called a lower esophageal sphincter valve. If we go back to that one there, that's at the base of your esophagus. That's the way it's supposed to stay open until food gets in. Then it's supposed to close. And then it's supposed to open. And then it's supposed to close. But what happens because of the overabundant use of what are called PPIs, or proton pump inhibitors, Prilosec, Nexium, etc., which is a huge category in this country, that little valve stays open. So what's going to happen? The inside of the stomach contents are going to go up. The brain's going to sense that, and then there's going to be a shutoff to the stomach. And the stomach's going to say, let's let everything stay there for a while. And then we get this bloating and the gas, and we're sending down food then that has not been properly digested back down into the colon. Next slide. Normal colon lining. Doesn't have any holes in it. Doesn't have any gaps in it. So this is one of those difficult situations when you talk to doctors and say, okay, leaky gut could be the cause of your brain issues, because now we found out that if you have leaky gut syndrome, guess what you can't do in your brain? You cannot convert tryptophan to serotonin. It's impossible. So we see guesstimates of 80% of women over the age of 40 on an antidepressant at one time or another, dealing with depression and anxiety. When we have these kind of issues, leaky gut syndrome, think about that when you have somebody that comes in and says, I'm on Prozac, it's not really working, doctor wants to add another one, or even take that dose up. Think that that may be one of the early signs that we have leaky gut syndrome going on. Go after the gut so that the body can start to produce more serotonin on its own. The intriguing thing here is, if you look at this, is the way we take care of protein, carbohydrates, and lipids, and how there are specific enzymes in our system to take care of these. I want Jamie to just talk for just 1 second, because I've become a huge believer that the first step in taking care of leaky gut syndrome is to introduce enzymatic therapy into the situation. And Nutritional Frontiers has a number of great ones.
Yeah, so Phil, maybe you can pull up that slide. So the Probezyme, has anyone taken that before? Probezyme? So the great thing, that's our first formula ever. We have 3 flavors. What's your favorite? Grape. Oh, me too. It's like fruit stripe gum. We also have cherry and fruit punch. So the great thing about that, it's dairy-free, gluten-free, and vegan. It's a chewable, so a kid could take it, anyone could, right? Mom's nursing can take it. And that, you know, when you look at the blend, it's probiotic and enzymes. And there's 2 trademarked ingredients in that now. We have the probiotic blend, and then we have the lactospore, the probiotic, which is Bacillus coagulans, and then the enzyme blend. So if you look at our family of enzymes, right, we have Betazyme, which is really going to help with pancreatic enzymes, ox bile. So if you don't have a gallbladder, how long do you need Betazyme for? Forever, right? Also, for me, it helps break down fat. So when I take Betazyme, my skin's better, I feel better.
Can I go back to what Jamie just said? If you've lost your gallbladder, you need to be on that particular enzymatic prep forever, or you're going to run into difficulties. That's something. We'll try it for a little while. We feel better, then we stop.
Fatty liver, anybody trying to break down fat, lose fat, anyone who gets really bloated, especially with meat or heavier meals, you need Betazyme. Anyone who's been on antacids, right, or PPIs, Len, right, because you've actually stopped the production. The symptoms of, usually heartburn or reflux are going to be the same. It's usually you don't have enough stomach acid, not too much. This will actually stimulate your body's ability to produce more stomach acid, right? So for some people, it's a short to midterm formula. For me, personally, I like it more long-term. Then you have the Nanokin Plus is an interesting enzyme. I call it a systemic enzyme. So Len, by systemic enzyme, what do you mean by that?
It will look for points of inflammation or the buildup of plaque somewhere in the body. Yeah. So when we have joint issues, ligament tears, where the body is starting to produce even scar tissue, this can look for that. So highly, highly effective in cardiovascular diseases as well when we started to see plaque buildup in the inside of the arteries.
Yeah, it works great acutely if you have a lot of swelling, maybe you sprained an ankle or a broken bone or something. Take it at high levels, right, to clean up that damaged debris. The only caveat is you have to take it on an empty stomach. We want it to get through the GI into the blood and circulate and start cleaning things up, right? Nice thing with the Nanokin Plus, we just had a patient last year from the Wellness Center. This guy's a heavy smoker. You want to shut the phone off or whatever it is? No problem. So he had a carotid artery blockage, and he's like a real logical guy, even though he smokes a lot. And his wife's a nurse, and she's a big fan of ours, comes in a lot. And he said, he had blockage, but the surgery would only guarantee, say 15% improvement with a big risk factor. He went on 2 Nanokin Plus a day, and about 4 to 6 months later, they saw significant improvement. And he still smokes. So it's very therapeutic. I can clean up any kind of damaged tissue. If you're a chiropractor, see a lot of pain. This would be for your acute swelling, that first phase of care. And then the Cybezyme. This has been around longer than Nutritional Frontiers. Doc had this on his old black and gold label. It was one of his first products he developed. The great thing about Cybezyme, if you go looked at that last slide, carbohydrates, yeah, we have amylase in here for the starches, cellulase for the fibers. We even have invertase in there for sugars. Protease for proteins, plus we have the DPP4, which is for gluten. And don't tell me you don't eat gluten. Because if you eat one meal outside of the house, chances are you're going to be exposed to it. And it's okay, right? Doesn't mean you want to eat a lot of it, but in case it's in there. It has lipase for the fats, right? So it has all, and it also has some probiotics in there. So Cybezyme is we call a full spectrum enzyme blend with some probiotics. So you can use any one of these plus the Probezyme. So you have plenty of options in there. There's also enzymes in the greens.
And don't forget, we're looking at PPI as being one of the major reasons for leaky gut syndrome, major reasons for some of the inability to maintain serotonin levels. Whatever you do, do not stop a PPI rapidly. That betazyme is your friend and can be used to transition a patient from a PPI off of a PPI. But you've got to do it very gingerly. You don't want to have any rebound reactions.
And there's tons of studies out there, Len, pulled up. If you want copies of the PowerPoint, when you just have Phil, we'll get it over to you, no problem. We don't print a lot anymore because people don't take them. It's a lot of cost. So if you want the online version, we can email it to you. It's not a problem.
Now look at that top one, leaky gut syndrome, 30 times risk of autoimmunity. When you're seeing people with autoimmune diseases going through the roof. The gut-brain connection, Johns Hopkins medicine. Is your brain leaking? Translational psychology. Leaky gut causing brain health issues. NCB1, that's the government's published studies. Signs you might have leaky brain. National Institutes of Mental Health. Is your brain leaking? Trinity College, Dublin. Leaky brain in neurological and psychiatric disorders. Long COVID. Let's go back to that just for a second. I'm glad he left that slide up there. How many times are we hearing now? Just in the news, as we were driving in this morning, 23 states have already called a national heads up. COVID levels are at an all-time high in 23 states again. It's making its second round. We're getting ready for the fall. We're getting ready for an election. Oh, I'm sorry, I can't say that. We have to be cognizant of the fact that long COVID syndrome, that lingering cough, that sinusy thing that happened if you've had COVID or a second occurrence or a third occurrence, even if you've been vaccinated. Leaky gut syndrome is one of the big reasons because we're now finding that the COVID vaccine accentuated gut-associated lymphoid tissue separation. Let me say that again. The COVID vaccine accentuated gut-associated lymphoid tissue separation. So it actually accentuated leaky gut syndrome.
And if you didn't know before tonight, now you do know. If you go on PubMed.com, right, very reputable reference center, resource center, and you type in COVID and SPM, over 1,000 published studies on the benefits of COVID, of SPMs on COVID.
Have your patients ready.
Over 1,000 published studies. So we've had many clients. Anyone here have great results for COVID with SPMs? Yourself, you want to share it? Yeah, the alphabet soup protocol, SPMs, and yeah, NAC, CBD, right, and DMG. So SPMs at a higher dose, so dramatic results. I had COVID in September of 2021. Now I got everything, I could get at the time, right? But I think doing the SPMs at a higher dose really got me over the hump, right? And so many people, it's still lingering, right? So we understand what's going on with it, but the simple solution is SPMs at least 3 twice per day. 6 is a minimum of a therapeutic dose.
By the way, when we're done here tonight, I have about 18 different studies that have just come out in the last 2 weeks. Last 2 weeks on leaky gut syndrome. So if you want to just flip through those, I'm going to try to get those copied and downloaded so that we have a file on those.
So Len's going to highlight a couple case studies tonight just so you get a little more clarity on what do you do if. Also, Dr. Len is on our team, so he's very generous with his time, but you can also schedule time with him to go through challenging cases. Now remember, his genius is that he's able to know the medications all the way through the nutraceuticals. So it's a very unique skill set that he has, and the care that he gives is second to none.
This is an unusual case, and it was brought to me by another practitioner that says, I don't really know what to do. It was a 48-year-old that age 38 was first diagnosed with autism. It's highly, highly unusual because you start to suspect a stroke or something other that's going on in the brain. They did all the workups. The doctors threw their hands up in the air. We didn't know what to do. But we saw the continued degradation in this fella. We reviewed his blood work. I did a zonulin test on him. It's one of those markers. It's a protein that can be seen in the blood as a diagnostic tool for a leaky gut. Zonulin is formed when those gaps start to open. Measured bacterial remnants. That's the other test that we did. There's actually a stool test where we were actually able to send out with a stool. We did 2 stool samples on him to look for bacterial remnants. These are remnants that would have gone through a second pass, not just undigested food. These are remnants that were micro-sized, that made it through the gut wall, into the bloodstream, and managed to be excreted. Review of the diet, we moved him to gluten-free and anti-inflammatory. We reviewed any and all his digestive issues. We noted that 3 times a week he's having a bowel movement. That's it. He had a weight gain over the past 5 years, which you see with a lot of autistic kids, of over 40 pounds. Referred to a psych. The psych added him on risperidone, 3 different doses, and trazodone during the day. So we had 3 different psych meds for agitation. Started him on Betazyme, 2 with each meal. Started SPMs, 2 in the AM, 2 in the PM. Not even extremely high dose. Started GI Complete AM and PM for 30 days. Frontier Biotics, 2 with each meal. I watched that for 14 days to see what would happen. At the end of 14 days, if everything was cool, that's when I layered in the IgG. I wanted to let the GI Complete do its job. Now I came in for 14 days worth of IgG at this juncture once a day.
Remember, the IgG is going to be able to bind, neutralize, and remove any really stubborn bacteria, toxins, mycotoxins, molds. Over 45 published studies at 5 grams a day is a prescription in teragrams. So it's a very therapeutic formula, even in that 2 to 6 week time frame.
After 2 weeks, bowel function returned to normal. Bloating and gas alleviated immediately with the enzymes. After 30 days, his weight went down 16 pounds. At the 30-day period, we added sleep time. I needed to get him off of risperidone at bedtime. It was keeping his weight on. We added 3 at bedtime. We continued all the other digestive supports. At 60 days, I waited for the psych to make it. Psych was sending me nasty notes left and right. But at 60 days, the risperidone went away. At 90 days, sleep was completely restored, anxiety down 70%. In discussions with the relatives, at 120 days, the patient started up their business again that they stopped 10 years ago. He's a photographer. And he's doing extremely well. You don't see this happen. There wasn't a pharmaceutical. I'm a pharmacist. There's not a pharmaceutical that could have even touched that. This man was going down a pathway of being on a number of different psych meds. His weight would have ballooned up. He would have become a cardiovascular accident. But you managed to get in, pay attention to some of the simplistic things dealing with leaky gut syndrome, and basically, as Jamie said, save a life. This is a life that was saved. Hormone regulators produced and released by the cells and the mucosa lining of the stomach. Gastrin, parietal cells. This is gastrin. You have some doctors, some gastroenterologists actually do gastrin levels. Gastrin is the signal from the brain to the parietal cells that line the stomach to make hydrochloric acid. This is one of the things interfered with Prilosec. Secretin is the one that manages water within the body. So this is looking at keeping the body as close to pH neutral as possible. And CCK is cholecystokinin. This is what is necessary, and it's given an indication of how well we're digesting fat and protein. Fat and protein. So if cholecystokinin starts to go way up, we're having a difficult time there. That helps you to define the specific type of enzyme you want to use. Here's protocol. Jamie and I were looking at this morning, and it's like, oh my God, could you add any more steps to this thing? Just follow this for a second. Review the symptomology of the patient. Jamie and I talked a couple hours this morning. One of the things we're going to go over at the October meeting is how to actually spend some time with that patient so that you start to recognize some certain things that are going on. Pay attention to the symptomology. What are they telling you? Listen to them. Follow labs if needed. Start with upper digestive support. Always go there first if you're suspecting leaky gut syndrome. Betazyme, Probzymes, Cybezymes, your choice. Layer in GI Complete twice a day for 2 weeks. twice a day. Normal dose is once. We're going to take it up to twice a day. After 14 days, continue the GI Complete and add in the IgG once a day. Continue with the GI Complete daily as step 6. So that's after 2 weeks, we're going to take that back down to once a day. Monitor bowel function. Layer in the SBC probiotic twice a day. Saccharomyces boulardii cerevisiae, a very specific, it's on the formulary of every hospital in the United States, called Florastor. This prep can take care of a lot of the bad bugs that we're growing. After 2 weeks, we added Frontier Biotics, which is the formula. It comes in a blue bottle. You'll see it here on the table. I love it. I think it's one of the most powerful probiotics on the market. This is interesting. Step 10, we looked at the potential of thermogenesis. Why? Because with leaky gut syndrome, the body loses track of leptin and ghrelin, two that you've heard in every weight loss plan that's been on the market today. Leptin, which is, again, coming from your fat cells back to the brain. Ghrelin, coming from the brain back down to the stomach. If we lose track with leaky gut syndrome, we lose track of this. Thermogenesis has the great ability to come in and monitor and keep normalized levels of leptin and ghrelin. I used it as a spread out dose with this patient. Normal dose 3 each morning. I did one with breakfast, one with lunch, one with dinner. I took a more lenient dose, but I spread it out through the course of the day. Layered in the SPMs twice a day to keep down inflammation, and eventually added one of the multis, multi for men, multi for women. That's a cumbersome 12-step protocol. But if you follow something like that, you can turn somebody's life around and settle down to the very end.
So here's some of the enzyme we mentioned earlier when Len was talking about upper GI support. Of course, the Probzyme and/or Betazyme. When I used to do consults, I would always look at enzymes at least one, if not more than one, right? I also like to add in CandiKill to kill off Candida. I did consults in the office for about 5 years, and after a while, I just started putting up people on a shake, CandiKill with the Probzyme, and then Superbiotics at night. So you have some options. And then when we created the GI Complete, this is a big game changer right here. This used to be 6 different products I'd have to give people. It was impossible to follow, right? I knew they needed aloe, right? And I knew they wanted slippery elm and marshmallow and DMG and glutamine. You know, you see some of these ingredients, but rarely would you see them all together. And you can layer in the IgG on top of this. The great thing is in the powder, we have 2 flavors. We have raspberry and lemon lime. So who likes the lemon lime? Oh, a couple people. Has anyone tried it? All right, gotta get samples going, Phil. That's like a margarita. It's a really nice taste. We don't use any artificial flavorings in anything. And you can combine it, or if somebody doesn't want powder, they can go to the capsules. So Phil, can you go to the website, the GI Solutions? So all this content is on the website. So we talked about protocols before. If you go right to our section on wellness solutions on the website right there, all the wellness solutions guys are there. If you click on GI, it's right there, and it's a little booklet. So you can, do you guys use these at all? So when I was doing the consults, me, Joe, and the team created these, and the more of these I filled out, the more successful I did. It was like, oh, am I having a slower week? I've been filling these out. Fill them out for everybody. It's another way to reinforce their compliance. And if someone's on 2 scoops of GI Complete a day, in 15 days they need a new one. If they don't, they're not taking it. So part of your job, really the art of this, is making sure people are compliant. When they are, they'll get results. Sometimes I tell them to do 3 GI Complete a day, knowing that they're not going to do 3, but they'll do at least 1 or 2. So depending on the patient and their level of commitment. But this outlines all the different formulations in the protocol. Always comes with a food and diet program to follow. These are general recommendations. And on the back, Phil, you can fill these in for people. And now we've added all the names, so all you gotta do is tell them how many, and with or without food, and hey, see you in 2 weeks, whatever, right? Utilize these. If you have staff that does the consults, make sure they use these. These are where you can give the person cliff notes, right? And there was a sign in my daughter's class that says, if you tell me, I'll probably forget. If you write it down, I may remember, right? Write it down for them. It's another way to reinforce. Okay, Phil, go back to the PowerPoint. So we talked about Betazyme quite a bit. One of my favorite enzymes, but you obviously have multiple options here. Probezyme, #1 formula ever came out with, and now we've expanded it. It's got multiple PRTs, including the lactospore, which is a really unique probiotic. Why? Because Bacillus coagulans will survive anything. You can heat it up, you can expose it to light, humidity, air, it doesn't matter. It works much better in a chewable than other probiotics would.
Another one of the downward issues that you can look for somebody that has leaky gut syndrome, another one that I found, chronic gum disease. If you have somebody that's just battling, even as an adult, getting dental caries or seeing receding gum lines when they do all those probes in your teeth, Probezymes and that lactospore chewed every day, held in the mouth, can reset the microbiome of the mouth. It can be your first step on healing leaky gut syndrome by using a Probezyme 3 times a day. Let it just coat the mouth. I use it in kids. I have a couple different dentists that use it all the time, that use it for their kids to make sure that if they get one of these a day, let them chew it, we can cut the risks of dental caries in a child dramatically.
Here's how the probiotic option Len was talking about, the SBC. This is one of the few SBCs you'll see that actually has a second ingredient in it. The Fluorostor, most of them out there. And the one we use in here was actually tested against Fluorostor, 20% better in all the studies. The other thing we add in here, normally you would recommend this for Candida, if someone has traveler's diarrhea or post-antibiotics. We added in BiO4, it's called Bifidobacterium BiO4. That is the #1 probiotic to use post-antibiotic therapy. So good idea to use something, you get 40% more ingredient in there when you add that in, and it's a combination formula. The Frontier Biotics was interesting. We were out of Superbiotics, which is the one I always use. And I went to the Frontier because Len always recommended it. It is a lower dose, but it's very therapeutic. I was only taking 3 a day, which gives you about 18 billion at expiration. We put them in the glass bottle, and these are all trademarked ingredients. What that means that we can actually look back and test it for the species and the strain, and that it's guaranteed to do a few things: survive all stomach acids, bile, and digestive enzymes. They actually get somewhere in your digestive system, adhere to the wall, and can colonize. So we get all these, probiotics from the same company. These are PRTs, patented research trademark forms, right? And we've been using that form now for about 10 years. There's a 60-page research study that comes on if you want to look at it. It's pretty interesting, showing how these different probiotics, the one article I was reading compared them to like species of dogs, right? You have a lap dog and a guard dog. You want to make sure you're using the right probiotic for the right result. These are full spectrum, these are multi-strains. So you get a lot of strains. These are a little more specific. Len?
If you want to look at that Frontier Biotics again, there's a strain in there called Gasseri, Gasseri. Just do a Google search on that. Go to any of your medical websites and just type in Gasseri and look at the links to healing leaky gut syndrome, to taking care of ulceration within the colon. It's one of the most powerful strains of probiotics, and it's not in a lot of probiotics, but it's in this one. That's why I really like this. I've used this even for teenage acne and have gotten tremendous results with it.
The most important part of the nutraceutical is the form of the ingredient. It's not how much, not where it came from, it's the form. And the reason we use these PRT forms is we can trace them all the way back, especially for probiotic. Ours are guaranteed the expiration date. When you get 50 billion in a cap, there's high, overages to make sure that they're still intact when that expiration comes up in 2 to 3 years, right? They're also in blue glass bottles because we found out about 10 years ago is that air can get through the plastic, light can get through the plastic, humidity can get through the plastic. So in our capsule forms, we always use the blue glass. We may go to green at some point, but the glass bottle is the #1 way to preserve that. So if you have probiotic in a capsule and it's not in a glass bottle, it's not the best. The only reason why they wouldn't use glass, you have to ask them, is probably because they don't know. And the second reason would be if they do know, cost. Okay? And then, of course, Len talked about Thermogenesis Complete. Really helped me get in shape. This year we've had testimonials for people using this and the Nutriglutide in a shake a day, 8 pounds up to 50 pounds, right? So we've gotten great results using this. But Len's also talking about it, controlling these hormone regulators in the gut, right? Same ones you have in the brain. SPMs, of course, and the Frontier Multi. We also have the multis on our Quarterly Focus, which are Frontier Men and Women's Complete.
Interesting little picture. And if you look at it, it's a little tough to see, but you're going to see some of the progression that causes gut inflammation. And you're going to see artist conception of what happens when we inflame the lining of the colon, the little villi. Stress, we say that again, stress, toxins, food particles, drugs, pathogens, organ malfunction. So we have a tissue issue down there. And you're going to see that remnants of food can actually make it right through that tissue wall. You know, the analogy I like to use, even explaining it to patients, is if you got a pair of old pantyhose and filled it up with sand and just had it sitting there, it'll hold that sand in place. But if you stretch it out just a little bit and take that material that the pantyhose are made apart and pull it apart, the sand's going to leak out. That same thing can happen to the lining of the colon. And then we start pushing these remnants into the lymph system, activating the immune system, and the inflammatory markers go through the roof, and we run into a whole world of hurt. Another of almost the same thing, what happens when you get decreased intestinal permeability? How do you do it? Dietary fiber. Frontier Fiber is a great prep, by the way.
All the colors have fiber in it. We've added to the Super Shake, and we've added to the Ultimate Shake. There's an old book, Fiber 35 by Brenda Watson. She said if you get 35 grams of fiber, you can prevent just about every chronic disease out there. Why? What eats the fiber? Probiotics. Fiber is a prebiotic, right? So what feeds the bad bugs? Sugar, dairy, alcohol, right? It's like the patients need to hear that. They need to understand that the bad bugs feed on the sugar. And the reason they're craving all these because they have too many bad bugs. It's as simple as that.
Don't forget the EPA and DHA, the SPMs, can directly help to decrease intestinal permeability and turn the patient around.
Yeah, we just talked about this, right? All the fructose and glucose and sucrose, right? All feeding this to increase the intestinal permeability.
Leaky gut syndrome, evidence of intestinal problems in autism and ADHD. Once again, how do you approach this with your patients that come in and say, my son was just diagnosed, they just put him on Adderall? Do we ever think that this could be leaky gut syndrome in a 12-year-old? Because of poor diet, because of stress in the family. We always talk about in ADD and ADHD, there's a family component there. The dad's working, the mom's, whatever. And that level of stress that you can't really ascertain what that child's feeling. But when you look at this, the relationship between the presence of ADHD and a greater severity of irritable bowel syndrome, if we talk to that child, you're going to find out that when he's really stressed out, we're running to the bathroom. Just like Jamie said, they're having loose stool.
Yeah, well, if you ask some of these kids, when they used to come in to see me as a nutritional consult, you know, I started asking them what they eat, right? So it's usually something with a lot of colors, right? Not the pro colors or fruits and veggies, but Skittles. You know, Joey loves his juice. Don't take his juice box away. He's going to flip out, right? You know, these are all neurotoxins. So one of the ways you can transition them is, like you said, the purple haze. The purples has nutrients in it for brain health. You know, alpha GPC, the active folate, PQQ, right? It has all these brain nutrients right in there, and it's very calming for a lot of people. So that's why it's so important when we talk about the shakes and the colors. These can be used as meals for people, especially breakfast. If the kid's eating Fruity Pebbles, probably not going to help him with his ADD, right? People don't realize they think juice is healthy still. loaded with colors, dyes, sugar. It's probably the worst thing for kids to drink. And we see more and more of this.
Both documented studies, Journal of Psychiatry. So, medicine has recognized this. It sort of fell through the cracks, though. Leaky gut affects the whole body. This is something that we talked about already. Sinuses and mouth, frequent colds, food sensitivities, brain, migraines. How many patients do you see that have migraines that are just taking serotonin precursors, trying to build up a level of serotonin to fight off the migraine, and all these new drugs and all the celebrities advertising for them? So again, we pretty much went into this list. What can damage the gut flora? Pollution. I don't, old age. No, I don't want to go there. Dental work, mercury, bottle feeding, alcohol. There's a whole list. So many different things that we just have to not take for granted that can be causing these issues.
And that's what we were talking about earlier, about really doing a thorough history on people. What do you consume? I ask people when they come in for our wellness events, what did you eat this morning? Oh, today's not a good day, right? Well, it's not today. How about asking me what I ate 3 years ago, right? What they eat today is what they eat every day. His was a breakfast sandwich in a wrapper. And he put his head down. He's like, he knew he's busted. I said, it's no problem, but you got to make sure you understand that food's information. So if someone has bad skin, first thing I do is fix their gut, right? Psoriasis, eczema, rashes, dry skin, it doesn't matter. You'll look like a superstar in about 1 month. That's all it takes.
And don't forget that line on there in radiation. You have somebody that's battling breast cancer, that's doing some level of chemo and radiation. That's a toxin that's going to be affecting this. You want to expedite their healing process, go after the leaky gut.
Yeah, we're just talking about the other symptoms, skin, right? Len mentioned rosacea and acne. I was talking about eczema, psoriasis, those type of things. I was originally a sports medicine major in college. Then I came out with a really bad case of psoriasis, 90% of my body. Today, maybe 1%. You can't even really see it anywhere. It only flare up occasionally if I consume sugar. So then I know it's time for Candid-Kill, right? And it'll kill off. We always say run for the cause, not for the cure, right? We know what the cause is. They just got to be willing to make the changes.
Did you notice on their Hashimoto's and Graves' disease, both ends of the thyroid, typically linked to leaky gut syndrome? Most times we don't think outside of the box. We'll look at this and we'll adjust their thyroid dose or give them some thyroid support, which isn't a bad idea, but look at it as leaky gut syndrome potential.
Yeah, you think about these autoimmune conditions. Maybe we can play that one video from Dengler. These autoimmune conditions, I didn't really hear a lot about them as a kid, right? And then in the last 25 years, and now after COVID, you're seeing more and more cases, right? It's become very common for people. When I was seeing clients, it was very common for 30-somethings to have part of their colons cut out, right? They all have digestion problems. So it's not something that people get later in life now. It's becoming more and more common for younger kids. So here's actually one of our clients' staff, and she was dealing with some autoimmune. And, generally they'll go what? NSAIDs and then methotrexate, sulfasalazine, these really dangerous medications, right? So they're already saying we can't help you. It's going to get worse. But here's a great testimonial.
Hi, how are we doing today?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing great, and thanks for the great news. And your name?
Diana Fresina.
And Diana, where do you work?
I work at Vitality Natural Health and Wellness in Meadville, Pennsylvania.
With Dr. Melissa Dangler?
Yes, sir.
She's a VIP client of Nutritional Frontiers, and thanks so much for your incredible story. You want to share with everyone out there?
I had been diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis in 2008, and over a period of 10 years, I took mostly methotrexate, but also 2 other prescription for rheumatoid arthritis, and I still had a lot of stiffness and pain, and I also had 2 neck surgeries. And Dr. Dengler suggested taking X-Flame, And I started doing that. I started with a loading dose, and I kept on that loading dose for about a month practically, because I had weaned myself off the prescription medications. So it was pretty severe. And then she started me on HA+, I think, after Mike was here and talked about that. So I have been taking both of those for over a year now, and I don't have all that stiffness. I'm not gonna say there's never a pain, but it hasn't been as debilitating. I had a flare-up with a couple of different times, and I just increased the amount of the supplements for a time, and it's like I just don't have that everyday aching, all day aching, night and day.
And you're on 3 medications. How many medications are on now?
For
this?
rheumatoid, none.
Oh, that's fantastic. So
Right.
HA+,
Yeah.
Omega-3D, and X-Flame by Nutritional.
Yeah, so she was using the X-Flame that has DMG in it. And DMG has a patent for rheumatoid arthritis. All right, so use the right ingredients to get the right results.
And by the way, one other thing, that HA+ is one of the lowest molecular weight hyaluronic acids. That prep alone could actually help to heal leaky gut syndrome also. It's also very supportive to that kind of tissue. So what is leaky brain? Due to brain fog, let's go to the next one. Go to the next one. Brain fog, neurofatigue, history of concussion, hypersensitivity, poor memory, anxiety, depression, and or seizures. Now, brain fog we see quite a bit. Neurofatigue, you know, the links toward, I guess we call it heavy brain, where we seem to have an adrenal issue, where the adrenals feedback back and forth to the brain is not there, so we're not getting cortisol high enough in the morning to stimulate the brain back into functionality, so the circadian rhythm gets way off. So again, these are all signs of a leaky brain.
Yeah, and there's actually studies on, if you look at it, with seizures where the patient would have 18 to 20 seizures per day. You see the seizures at that level. They started ingesting the DMG. Seizures come all the way down for a period of days. They stop taking it, they go back up. So DMG by itself has had published research on seizures. It's right in the DMG book. Does everyone have the DMG book? It's a must read. If you don't have it, Phil can take care of you.
Brain gut link. Now, again, I talked earlier about leaky gut, leaky brain, and the inability to produce serotonin. You see it in the upper left-hand corner, high levels of stress. Tryptophan levels go down because I can't convert them to serotonin. Now, you're seeing a lot of different things over here. You're seeing an increase in cortisol over here on the right-hand side coming out of the adrenal cortex at the wrong times of the day. This is typically the issue with cortisol is heavy brain in the morning, followed by an active brain overnight. Or that patient that says, I come home after working all day and I get this second surge after 6 o'clock at night. From 6 till 9, I'm out, I could clean the whole house. And then when I go to bed, my brain just seems to just be on fire. It just keeps rolling. Cortisol levels going up high. Suspect leaky brain syndrome, same type of treatment. Case study number 2. This is interesting. This is a New York patient. A 61-year-old male working at a high occupancy prison in upstate New York, where the worst of the worst are. He's a physician's assistant, and he was working in there in a very dank, miserable place for a number of years. Recently diagnosed with Parkinson's. Started the typical medication. He was on the levodopa combination prep. Discussed with his wife and the patient and agreed to work on leaky gut principles. No further testing were done, except I did a dopamine level on him from urine, and he was at 23%. So there was documentation if he needed it or if the neurologist needed it. Yes, he was very, very deficient on dopamine. Started GI Complete capsules. He wanted to take capsules so he could take them to work with him. 4 with each meal. Started IgG immediately once a day. Use Cybezymes on an as-needed basis. Added SPMs, 2 with breakfast, 2 with dinner. After 30 days, hand control improved 40%. This is when the video came out that we're going to show here in a minute. We added Enter CoQ10, 2 in the morning, 2 in the evening, continued the IgA protocol. At 60 days, he's now back to work. Tell me about other cases of a 61-year-old with Parkinson's that was told by his bosses, you can't do your job anymore, you can't write. His hand was shaking so bad. Yet he's back to work now. And his wife was just recently diagnosed with cancer, so it was very important that he gets back to work and be able to support his wife.
So oftentimes we'll see a case study or we'll see an after, but you might have saw this before. We just want to show it to you. This is the before, during, and after of a Parkinson's patient that saw one of our chiropractors outside of Erie, PA. So really fascinating, this one. About 2 minutes. And Len will narrate for you.
Keep in mind, a Parkinson's patient cannot stand on one foot. I can't either, but that's because... And you notice when a Parkinson's patient initially is walking down a hallway, there's a cautiousness. The shoulders come in because we want to stay as far away from the walls or a door because there's this subconscious thing that eyes are seeing, and I can't make it through that door frame. 9
Great.
days. 9 days. Balanced. He wasn't able to do that at all. Notice he's moving his arms again. Parkinson's patients cannot ride a bike. They're all say it. I actually lectured at the National Parkinson's Association for a number of years. And that's one of the prerequisites that they do when they're testing. They cannot balance on a bike. They've lost that innate balance that we learned as a child. This guy could never ride a bike. Even when he was going slow, he didn't fall over.
Continue to make great progress, right? Even after a couple months.
Notice there wasn't a wobble to stay away from the walls, and his shoulders were back.
So you can just pause that right there. So there's the protocol. I think we were talking earlier about the Enter CoQ10, one of my favorite formulas. If you don't have this, it's a must because it's therapeutic DMG 300 milligram and therapeutic CoQ10 300 milligram, and they're chewable. I noticed I stopped taking it for a couple months. I added some other things in, and I can see the difference in my gums, so I went right back on it. It's really good for inhibiting lactic acid buildup. And the thing I love is Dr. Lenz showed years ago dosing on CoQ10 for neurological should be 1,200 or more. If you're given 50 or 100 milligram soft gels, it's not cost. It's impossible. Plus, taking all those soft gels every day, especially if they're bovine. So this is chewable. You get the DMG and the CoQ10, and we took them all the way up to 8 a day, which is 2,400 CoQ10 and 2,400 DMG. What's toxicity level on DMG? There is none. Yep. Clemson University did studies of 4,000 doses, no toxicity. What's the toxicity of CoQ10? There is none. So you can go higher on these, but you can only do it if you have a higher one to begin with.
You have to be very careful what you give a Parkinson's patient to sleep. That's why you see hemp in there. It's one of the safest ways to accentuate sleep in a Parkinson's patient.
And the omega-3D, which has the EPA, DHA at the optimal level, plus vitamin D3, that's in the triglyceride form, TG, the natural form. These are all third-party tested at Eurofins, so super clean omega-3s. We also have this in a liquid without the vitamin D. So Enter CoQ10, omegas, and hemp.
Healthy gut, healthy mind. We've heard this say before, two brains. You've got the brain, and then you've got the gut brain. And we're now finding that the gut brain has just as much functionality as the upper brain does, and the communication between those two must be kept intact. This is case study number 3, another one of my patients. 3 cases of COVID. I'll start there. Diagnosed with COVID 3 times, vaccinated 3 times. 78-year-old.
One for each case, I guess.
Yeah, recent diagnosis of dementia. Went immediately to the leaky gut syndrome protocol. It was amazing with this fella, and it's a father of one of the people that's in my Bible study. And immediately, they wanted to put him into a home, one of these new homes for Alzheimer's and dementia. They didn't even want to initially even try anything. And I said, look, let me just try a few things here. So we went to the leaky gut syndrome protocol, GI Complete. We added the Pro Purples here to the GI Complete right off the bat. Bowel function, which was chronic diarrhea, improved immediately. Difficult to implement dietary changes at this age. We did add more protein. In this case, since swallowing was a problem, we stayed with powders and liquids. SPM liquid went to 2 doses per day. IgG went to 2 doses per day for 14 days. GI Complete once a day to continue. Pro Purples and Pro Oranges in the afternoon. Added cell energy support in early afternoon. Review all the symptoms with children. Showed better cognition and sleep. By the way, he's now 81 and doing extremely well. This is a good slide, and eventually I think we'll get all these to you, but the links to inflammation, bacterial, mold, excess of glutamate from foods, free radicals, high blood sugar, homocysteine that's elevated, high fat, high caloric diet. This is the typical American diet. This is typical American. Liver damage, low quality sleep. That just fills in the gaps and causes and leads to leaky gut syndrome. This is written up in so many different journals. The 4-step plan to heal a leaky gut. Remove foods and factors that damage the gut, number 1. Number 2, replace with healing foods. 3, repair with specific supplements. And 4, rebalance with probiotics. A simple 4R step.
So what are some of the, we can maybe talk a little bit more about this, right? So remove foods and factors that damage the gut. What are some other formulas that you can use to remove? What are our remove formulas? Talk about Candikill, right? So you can remove candida and yeast out of the gut. IgG will help remove, right? What about if they have parasites? Parakill or Microgon? Yeah. So those are formulas you can use to help remove bacteria, toxins, parasites, mold, funguses. We also have something called Frontier Cleanse, and we have a new one coming out, the Remove Complete coming out soon, that will help you bind to things like mycotoxins. So it'll have things like in there like bentonite clay, and it'll have also the charcoal and things like that in there. So it'll help remove those things from the gut. So we have quite a few removals, not only removing offending foods, but helping remove some of the bad bacteria. You have to change the environment, and that's one of the ways you can do it. I always say starve them, kill them, remove, and replace. Right? You got to starve them with the diet. You got to kill them off with Candikill, Parakill, Microgon. You got to remove them with IgG and fibers. Then you got to replace them with what? Good bacteria. Okay? Replace them, right, with healing foods. The GI Complete is very healing. Repair with specific supplements like GI Complete, also the fibers Len talked about, and rebalance with any of the probiotics. And probiotic research shows you need at least 6 billion per day to really do anything. And you need to do higher doses when you're trying to really repopulate. It just depends on what the goal is.
Another very, very typical step 1, remove foods: sugars, grains, conventional dairy, GMO foods, genetically modified. Top toxic exposures: tap water, pesticides, NSAIDs, You know, the medication, the ibuprofens and antibiotics, they're the most typical. Again, some other ideas, you know, raw cultured dairy, bone broth, fermented vegetables. I have all my dogs now on bone broth. Fix their gut. That in the Blue Bottle probiotics, dogs love them. Sprinkle on their food, it must taste good to a dog. So we've, you know, without any kind of gut issues at all with our animals.
Yeah, these are the nutrients in the GI Complete, right? There's plenty of glutamine out there. There's plenty of licorice, plenty of aloe. But when you see all those combined, no one has that formulation like that. It doesn't exist. The closest one I saw had N-acetylglucosamine in it. Why? We don't want that? Shellfish allergen, right? So the addition of the zinc carnosine, you guys know why we put zinc carnosine in? When you combine zinc in the carnosine molecule, it actually will adhere to any damaged sites in the intestinal tract. So if someone has a peptic ulcer, right? It'll actually adhere to that damaged site and it'll start the healing process right away. But it has to be zinc in the carnosine molecule. If you also look at H. pylori, right? What's the recommended therapy for H. pylori? Triple antibiotics. About 80% successful. When you add just the zinc carnosine with that, it goes right to 100. And I don't have the case study finished yet, but my daughter, my older daughter, the teacher, you know, she was struggling the last couple of years, bloated, GI, all these things. I finally got her to my doctor, Dr. Valerie Donaldson in Pittsburgh, MD, functional medicine, and she just sent me the reports, right, Joe? I had to show to Joe. She goes, guess what I had? This is a few months ago. She had H. pylori, C. diff, you name it. She was in a bad accident, so she had been on antibiotics. I'd been telling her this for 2 years. You know, doesn't want to listen. But more importantly, just got the new updated test. Her weight's down. This stuff is all disappearing, right? So even the most stubborn of bacteria, the therapeuticness of the ingredients is really important in this GI Complete.
Again, a whole list of other foods that can be added. Dark
Glad
chocolate.
your wife must have been involved in this list. Dark chocolates, is this real?
Are you going to bring up my wife's picture?
Oh, we did not put that up, but maybe we can get to that before we finish. Uh-oh, Phil's on top of it.
That's the last slide.
Sure.
By the
All
way,
right.
my wife was diagnosed close to 25 years ago.
And we're going to
with
finish in a
autoimmune
few minutes,
disease.
just to let you know. Get it.
Rheumatoid arthritis and a form of Crohn's. And she's a physician's assistant. I've been trying forever to treat her. And she also had alopecia. So from the time we were married, we've been married 31 years now. Outside of the first 5 years, she wore a wig. She had no hair on the top of her head at all. She was bald, basically. And we started a few things with her. She's been on GI Complete now every day, all the time, for over a year. We added Beauty Complete 6 months ago. She said, I'll try it. And I told her to take 2 a day. She was only taking 1. This is my wife. She just went to the hairdresser for the first time in 21 years.
Oh, man. I love it.
She got highlights, and now she spends every day talking about the next highlights. And I said, maybe we'll get some purple in there. But she now has hair on the top of her head, and she is like ecstatic. So she said, go ahead, you can use my picture. Again, this is, I think, the last slide we have, or almost the last slide. It defines everything from the gut, the barrier down below, leaky gut with the remnants coming down, the gut microbiota, and the feedback mechanism back and forth to the brain. Now, the reason I wanted to keep this slide in there, you'll see up in the upper left-hand corner, the HPA axis, the hypothalamus pituitary adrenal axis. You talk to any neuro doctor, any gastro doctor, you talk to any psychiatrist, they'll talk about the HPA axis of communication. That's how the brain communicates with the body. Now that we understand that when there's a breach in the lower colon, when we have a problem here with leaky gut syndrome, the HPA axis is struggling to try to do communication with the rest of the body. What we find is cortisol levels go all over the board. We'll find that adrenaline levels start to rise at various times. So you'll start to see heart racing issues. So there's a whole world of other issues out there, cardiovascular risk. And this just recently came up as the link here to MS. You know, it's unfortunate we're starting to see more and more cases of MS surfacing, autism, generalized pain, anxiety, depression, and obesity. So what you're seeing here is what the message was that we wanted to get to you today is leaky gut syndrome, more common than we think. Leaky brain syndrome goes hand in hand with it. Address them, and you can turn around a great percentage of health issues. But don't let them just do a one and done. As Jamie said, make sure we continue on the protocols so that we can continue that healing process moving ahead.
Let's hear it for Dr. Lang.
Let's hear it for Jamie.